listening to Let's Grow Together podcast.
Forever and ever, we'll make it, we grow together.
My name is James Gilmore and my wife.
Lynette Gilmore.
And we'd like to thank y'all for watching Let's Grow Together podcast. We told y'all we're going to try to stay consistent with our shows. Try to keep this, consistent on Wednesdays during the evening so y'all can watch, things about, especially things in the African American community and, more topics. Probably later on we might talk about finances and so forth like that.
Yeah.
But today is a very important topic in society. A lot of people don't want to talk about marriage.
Yep.
And how important marriage is. A lot of people decide, in their life, in their whole life, they say, they don't want to be married. And why is that the question? That's the question we ask. Why is that? Is it commitment? Is it, responsibility that we're afraid of, in today's time? And so, we're going to, ask those questions in this podcast episode. So, what's some things you think people are afraid of in marriage?
I feel like some people are afraid that, someone is going to take advantage of them, do them wrong, and they're going to lose their trust in the person.
Yeah.
I think people go into marriage sometimes thinking and I think that's an issue.
Yeah, and I think that's the case. With anything, it's a kind of, I wouldn't say scary, but it's a new, plateau, in your life, and every step is a scary thing. A lot of people ask us, when we got married, are you ready, to be married? And of course that's the question, but some people have their intentions on why they ask you, because they may be, in a situation they, think about that decision as well. And
so they may not be happy.
Yeah.
They might. Some people that's married will ask you, "Are you ready?"
Yeah.
Because they know like it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a man coming to a man, they will ask you if you're ready because they know the responsibility of a man and how much that they carry in a marriage.
Yeah.
So, and then some people who are married, they find out they don't like marriage, so they ask you if you're ready, and they like to tell you the worst of it all.
And it's just a good thing that people ask you that, because like we gonna discuss in today's time, marriage is not a priority. People want to have children, and that's it. That's all the responsibility. That's all the the loyalty that people want to have these days.
Well, it's like the crazy thing about that is there are so many people who are ready to have children, and they want to have them so bad, but they're not ready to like make a commitment, even with the children.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like very, very backwards. Like you have to love the woman first, like Christ loved the children, and then you have children, because now you're gonna love your wife and you're gonna love your children, and then vice versa. There's some women who only want to get pregnant by men, and they don't love the man. They just want to get pregnant by them for a benefit.
Yeah.
So, likewise with the female, you need to have a child by someone who is definitely into you, who loves you, not because you see him as a dollar sign or something like that. You should want to be with a man who wants to take care of his children and loves you unconditionally.
Yeah. And I think, to add to that, I think, the way the system and the way the world is set up, they kind of design it where the mother of the mother of the children, they decide that, oh, I don't need them. They make it set up that way because, when we think of things like Section 8, we think of, those types of things. It's kind of making it like it's okay to not have a man in the household. What do you think about that?
I think in some ways that might be true.
Yeah.
And I think in other ways it's a safety mechanism because there are many situations where I would say there has been a relationship between a man and a woman, and for some reason that man leaves.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't want to take care of his children, or if he does want to, it's a hard situation for him because the woman feels portrayed in some way. She feels as though you should be with her, and she's going to do that different task for the man if it's a good man. So, then other people are dependent on that type of resource because they don't want to put their trust in a man. I mean, that's just, and so they rather not even try.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know if you all remember those that watched this podcast. Fantasia was on the Breakfast Club, and she was talking about how the roles of the man and the woman, it's somewhat of a generational thing, where the woman, they've been raised by a single parent, and they say, they don't need a man, and they need a man in there, just in case they have a son and even a daughter, they can look up to as a male figure. And she was talking about being submissive, and I feel that's another thing that I think mostly females they kind of shine away from like that submissive thing, and they feel like I don't want to be, but they think it's like being like a servant, but it's not necessarily that. It's being respectful of the man, of the head of the household. Okay. And I think a lot of females feel like they're in servitude if they be submissive.
Yeah, I think that's true. And let me ask you a question. Why do you think women feel that way, like they're a servant?
I think because some males may have treated females that way. So they feel in their relationship that's going to happen that way. Yeah. That the man that they meet is going to treat them that way, as being a servant type.
Yeah.
Instead of
I think a lot of women are afraid of that, to be honest with you, because it's like you don't want to go in. This is why marriage is so important, because there's vetting before marriage. And if the Black community has family foundation, meaning a father and a mother and someone to properly vet that woman or vet that man, then these situations could be a lot different. Yeah. So I feel as though like it's a scary thing for women when they're going into a type of relationship, especially in the beginning, because they don't know the actions or true intent of a man until they get too deep into it sometimes, because sometimes people switch up. Even women switch up too. Yeah. So I think it's a scary thing when you say submit, because you can start being submissive all the way in the beginning of a relationship, and then some men will take advantage of that
Yeah. Yeah.
and think that, oh, this woman is really, really for me. They might take advantage of her being submissive or kind or respectful towards him. Now, if it's a decent man, he will honor that and love that about her, and she don't have to be afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. And this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I think that domestic violence thing kind of deter females from being married as well,
Yeah.
because they feel like they've seen a lot of people around, maybe their mother, their aunt, or anybody in their family, or anybody that's close to them, deal with those domestic issues, and they say, oh, I don't even want to be married because I've seen this happen. And so they have this image of a male in their household, and so they say, oh, I don't want to be married. And what do you think about that?
I think that's true. It just depends on, I think it just depends on the woman, because I've seen domestic violence
Yeah.
in my family.
Yeah.
With my mother at the time, it made me very angry.
Yeah.
And it did honestly make me feel some type of way about men.
Yeah.
But I don't know, as a child and as a teenager, just seeing that there were good men in my family that
Yeah.
were like, I never seen,
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, I never seen a man in my family be violent towards a woman in that way, like I've seen other men be violent towards my mother. And so I kind of got to see like the both sides. Kind of helped me in the dating world to see what type of men I wanted and which one I just stayed away from in general.
Yeah.
Because you can tell by a person's spirit, and just having those experiences myself, the child, I could kind of pick up on what type of man, that was probably violent. So,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. So it was a point in your life where you had to be more open-minded to know or be aware that it is good males, even in your family, that they treated they woman with respect.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
because as a child, I can remember it was two of my cousins, both brothers, and in the neighborhood, if they saw a man put on a woman,
Yeah.
and like my aunt saw it or something, my aunt will tell her two sons, y'all go over there and check on her and make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
I've literally seen them to go and rescue a woman. Like they really put that man in check and said, they were like they were really checking him, and
Yeah.
I've seen that. So they were like heroes, and just to see that type of respect that they had, and they did not allow to exist around them, which I knew, that helped me see things a lot better.
Yeah. And even though those things happened back then and still happen now,
Oh, yeah.
I think men now are more like, oh, that's them. That's
Oh.
they. Not gonna help out or anything, because they have less respect for the female these days. And so, and that's a whole another topic where, these communities, I'm just going to say these communities, they they don't have respect for the male. It's the female. A lot of female communities, they don't care about the male as well.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
so true.
now it's a different thing. They wouldn't even run and try to rescue the woman, or they wouldn't run and try to rescue the man, because it's just a different society.
Yeah.
And it's totally different.
It's sad though. It's very sad, because I've seen that protection from men growing up as a child, with my older cousins and my uncles, I've seen the protection that they offered to women, if they knew them or not.
Yeah.
I remember even a situation where it was at nighttime, and my cousin, he was like coming home, walking from the car, and this lady ran to him. She was like, sir, please help me. This man is trying to get me. He was, I don't know what he was trying to do to her, but he offered his protection because it was nighttime, and basically this lady was being haunted by this man. So he offered protection for her, and I mean, some men they would like, nah, get away from me. I don't know you. That's what people do nowadays.
So he took the woman and drove.
Yeah, he just like walked with her, like, come over here. Who is he? Where you come from? And until she felt safe.
And that's that goes along with marriage as well. Like, are you willing to sacrifice, especially the male, sacrifice to have a family? Because if you're the head of the household, you have a responsibility of, like we're talking about, protection.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another thing. Responsible. A lot of males having babies, but they're not responsible for their seed.
Yeah.
And the children they have, and you wonder why that's the case. And it's many factors, but what you think that's, why do they do that? Why do males, they don't want to have a family, they want to be married and take care of the children?
I don't know, but I feel like it's a type of behavior that men have. Some have, because there are responsible men, and then there are some men who are just not responsible, and they just don't care because some of those men really just want sex, and they don't care sometimes to be responsible about it. And then when a child comes, they don't care or look to a child for anything.
Yeah.
They will deny.
Yeah.
Like with no type of how would you say, no type of remorse, sympathy, empathy, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a child and it's your seed that you have had, and then in some communities blame the woman who brought forth the child and wanted to carry it to term. But it's like, you both knew what you were doing, and you know the possibilities of it.
Yeah.
So my thoughts is, if you know what the outcome can be, then expect that outcome. Don't run from it. Don't get mad if the woman decides to bring forth a child, because that's a child, and she may not believe in terminating births and things like that. So you have to be responsible. And I think it's I don't know. I feel like it's some type of culture or something with men who think like this is okay, like this is fun, like this is. It's not.
Yeah. And that's why marriage is important, because in the process of getting to marriage, you want to get to know that person. Not you wouldn't know everything about the person.
Yeah.
But you will know more than just a person or people just at a club or meet somewhere and they just have a one-night stand and stuff like that. It's more than that, because when you become married, you learn how people are. Like when we first got married, we discussed things about ourselves that we probably wouldn't even tell nobody else, and that's part of trust. Yeah. And I feel a lot of people are afraid of trust as well before getting to marriage. That's why, or before they get into a commitment.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why a lot of people don't get married, because they feel he might take my money. And I've heard even a story today when I was at work. Somebody told me a story about a man. You know, they get into a relationship, they get married, and the man just with the woman for the money, no trust, and the guy just leaves. And so it's people out there, you know, they have their own intentions on why they marry, and that goes into marriage is just a business. And you know, that's the way people are now.
I mean, I don't look at it that way, because it's like, it's more than just a business. You have to feel some type of way towards that person, because the way that I feel towards my husband and the way that I respect and honor him, you know, it wouldn't be easy for me to do anything foul towards you. You know, and that's why it has to be more than just you saying it's a business thing or whatever like that. Because if it's a business thing, like, you can say, well, this marriage is just for business. I can be and do and see whoever I want to, because it's for business purposes. You know.
And especially when you're talking about sex and having relations, you know, with somebody. When you have sex, you know, two souls is coming together. And that's why, you know, from the Bible standpoint, is, you know, sex is meant for. So when
it is.
So when people say marriage is just a business, that's not true, because it's a soul thing, a spiritual thing that goes within marriage. Because you're not just gonna get married, and I mean, some people go to justice of the peace, but still they say, like, under God,
yes,
you know, you're getting married. So it's more than just a financial. It ain't like you go down to the justice of the peace and y'all just sign business stuff, or sign money,
right,
like prenups or whatever you all, you know, sign, or we sign.
Yeah.
But it's more.
Yeah, it's a very sacred thing. This is something that God honors and cherish himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he uses it in similitudes in the Bible all the time, like Christ in the church, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't see how people can just say that, and that's not so. Like, these, when you get married, and it's an honorable thing, if you are a person that believes in God, you have to understand this is a generational thing too. Like, when you have children, you know, you're setting the foundation of how things should be. You know, so many people out here having all these children, but have no commitment, have no marriage, doesn't honor God, and none of that. And so the foundation is already broken. And now you have your children who are out there also lost.
Yeah. And so, you know, the answer, the question that we're, you know, talking about, is marriage important? Yes, marriage is important. It glues the structure of life, you know, glues the structure of life. You know, having a man role model in the family, having a female role model in the family is very important to the boy and the girl, because especially having a good role model, because you know, I was blessed to be raised in a good family, and, you know, seeing how my treat my mother made me you know, look up to him and say, oh, I want to be a good father, I want to be a good husband like he is. And so, you know, that's very important. And there's some children, you know, they've been raised in good households, but they just, you know, they want to other way. But I think it's just you know, it just depends on the individual person, what they want out of life, as far as marriage.
Yeah, and another thing about that, you saying how you had a father and a mother to look up to when it comes to marriage.
Yeah.
Another thing, for all these people who's just out here having children and no commitments with a wife or a husband, when you get older and when your children grow older, there are certain things that the Bible commands for children to do, like their mother and their father. And I would say a mother and a father who has not set the foundation or who has not been in their child's life, you can make that hard for your children to honor you and to respect you and to even love you, to be honest, because if they never seen you show up in their life, when you got to remember, because this is something my grandma said, you have to remember that you are going to get older. And these children who look out for you when these days do come. So you need to treat them right and treat them well, and don't take your children for granted, because so many of you women and so many of you men are just having children but not showing up.
Yeah. And then how you gonna be there for your father and you never knew your father? Or how you gonna be there for your mother and you never had a close relationship with your mother, and vice versa?
Right.
And so that's very important. Had taught you about treating from the Bible, honor your mother and your father, even that your days may be long.
Yes.
And so all those things tying together, the question is, what is a good marriage? And I feel a good marriage is, the main thing is having trust with each other. Yeah. That's the main thing. And love. Without love, a marriage is nothing really.
The Bible talks about love. It said, with love and kindness I draw thee, right? And so our people are in these relationships. They're not showing love or kindness. They're not drawing.
It's more about lust.
Yeah, lust, and what? Business.
Yeah.
That it just doesn't.
Yeah.
You get in a marriage because you are really serious about this person and you honor God, and you're a person who believe in God, so you're doing the things that are deemed right. And when you're married, you start to grow.
Yeah. And add to that, with the love thing, you may meet a female, and later along the line, they'll be in a good person for you to have a relationship with. And so some people are so particular about the physical aspects, how a person look, and you may meet that person that you might think at the time they're okay. They're not a looker, but that person may change for you. They may lose, if they really love you and they really like you. I know both of us, we may ask, can you do this, with your hand? Different stuff. And they be willing to do it because they love you, and they want the other person to be happy.
Right.
And so, you got to consider those things, because, especially male, us guys, we just look at the physical thing. Oh, she don't got this attribute. But maybe later on, she may lose a little, weight for you. She may change her hair a certain way for you. But and the thing is patience. With a lot of these people out here, they don't have patience, because if you're fruitful in a marriage and you do well, good things gonna happen.
Oh yes.
And I think a lot of people are not patient to see those things. They want it now.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right.
like, they don't wait, and then they end up with consequences. But you know, children are not a mistake. You know, they're here for a purpose. So
yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I agree with that. Patience, because when you get married to a person, you're both starting from somewhere. And most of the time, some people are starting from somewhere, and you both can grow together. I mean, you would be surprised how many people they want to do the right thing. They got married, and their growth was so amazing. This post, it was on YouTube. I think it was on YouTube. It was on Instagram and Facebook. It was these two couples. They were like big, but they lost weight together.
Oh yeah.
And so they look completely different, very healthy, and all those things. So it's growing together and helping each other, you know, set a foundation, breaking curses, starting something new. That's how I see marriage.
Yeah. And that's you know, basically it, what we want to talk about today, because we see a lot of things on social media. We see things, especially on YouTube, where marriage is not considered a priority. Nope. It's not a goal. You know, I remember when I was young, you know, I would dream of, you know, those things. Like, getting married. You dream of a wedding, dream of white, you know, a white dress, you know, you dream of your wife coming down in a white dress and stuff like that. Yeah. And nowadays people don't dream about that. They dream about individuality, being independent, getting a job, business, having a girl or necessarily marriage. They dream of children.
They don't dream of marriage. They dream of, you know, the high life, the fast life, the BBLs. The lifestyles. All of those things that
the BBL thing is getting
and I think I'll say for men, I feel like they look at it like, you know, nice cars, plenty and different of women every single week, or
how many girls I
can sleep with, and like, how is that? I don't know how that's an accomplishment. I really don't. I would never understand that about some men, like being able to sleep with so many women. What does that even prove or say? Because at the end of the day, does any of those women have qualities of a wife? Like what?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's just the thing about your priorities, and you know, the answer, you may have a different answer to the question we're asking: is marriage important?
Yeah.
These days, it's all about your priorities, and so you know, we just want to about, you know, the thing, you know, consider, you know, being married, because it's a good thing. You know, God honors marriage, and you know, we guarantee you, you know, you'll be blessed.
Yes.
If you make that decision.
Make the right decision,
make the right decision
with the right woman, right man. And another thing I want to add, though, you know, there is an issue with some men saying they don't need wives. You know, they don't need women, and vice versa. Women don't need men. But I just like I said before, as you age and stuff, you might find yourself wishing that you had a wife or you had a husband, because if you ever get down to where you're sick, truly loves you, she will take care of you and make sure she nurses you back to health. Likewise with your children, if you are honorable and just man who has taken care of their family and you protect your family, your children and your wife is going to make sure you're okay in the time of need, and vice versa.
Yeah. And that's something to consider. Especially getting married and having children. You want somebody that's gonna be there for you. And you helped me out when I was sick, so it was good to have somebody there. I wasn't alone. The Bible also says it's not good for man to be alone.
Yeah.
And so it's good. My dad even said that before I got married. He was like, "Yeah, it's not good for man to be alone." And I ended up being married, and I see the fruitfulness of that.
Oh yeah.
And so we appreciate y'all for watching, and just consider being married. We're not pressuring anybody out there, but it's a blessing in being married, especially before God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I appreciate y'all for watching, and please subscribe to our channel, and also it's on Spotify and all the digital platforms. Our podcast, Let's Grow Together. So my name is James Gilmore, and my wife,
Lynette Gilmore.
All right, peace.
Bye.
You're listening to Let's Grow Together podcast.